picked up. I think we might see Infamous lacking a little bit too much damage if they now go for that hero. And Tidehunter, again, we're seeing the Zoo coming in from the Lycan, and Tidehunter being seen as that answer where you get the Anchor Smash on the creeps, they do that little bit less damage, and you have a hero now to stand up in front with Dark Mago on his Tiny. I hope that he's going to be able to play very similarly to Moo, because again, Moo really sets the standard for me when it comes to Tidehunter. He's really been the front setter in NA, so I hope that now Oscar is going to be able to fill the same shoes that he's filled many, many times before.
Right. Oscar very much comfortable on that Tide, and if Oscar can play that Tidehunter well, if he can get that Blink Dagger up at a decent time, if he is the one initiating into it, then you blink, you drop the Ravage, and at that point, Dark Mago and whoever they get for Angel as well will then have their pick of whatever target they want to go in on. Anyone who got hit up inside of that Ravage would then be vulnerable to Tiny coming in for the Avatos combo. So it all is going to kind of come down to Oscar in terms of the larger team fights. You can still rely on Dark Mago on that core Tiny if that is what they go for, to try and find those sort of supplemental pickoffs, try and establish that pace, but team fight-wise, the Tide has to be on point. And if he is, Infamous are going to be hard-pressed to deal with it.
Yeah, and taking a look at your opponent's bans, I really like this Tide pick in addition to knowing that you aren't getting monkeyed, you aren't getting trolled, you are going to actually have something that is going to be tenable for you. You can actually deal with the aggression that could be coming out from Infamous, and that's where we talk about Infamous versus Hikori usually when we talk about these lineups, but Infamous versus NoPing, very, very similar core players. Both of their safe laners, they play the Uber carries, they play the ones that want to 1v5 if they need to. And I love this Undying pick coming out from Infamous, one of the other heroes that, while we saw it picked up in that previous patch, we're seeing it gain more and more traction. We've seen some people playing it safe lane. We've seen some people running it fully in the off lane. It just does so much damage. And I was worried about what was in the pool. Of course, liking the bans coming in from Infamous, that then NoPing were working against them, but Undying Luna is not a fun Tide lane. This Tide is now going to suffer, I think, pretty heavily. Forgot about the Undying for a second there, and while Luna definitely, I think, has seen her heyday, she has really not been very touched by this patch. She is more or less the same hero, so we are seeing that carry matchup of old coming out from these SA teams.
Yeah, Luna on the one side, the Gyrocopter now out for NoPing on the other, so well, we'll see how much farm Angel can really find there on the Gyrocopter. Always a hero that's going to represent a threat. Does need, in most circumstances, quite a lot of build-up time, but once he gets there, Infamous may have difficulties getting through him, but we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, though, we move into that final phase of the bans. NoPing focused on that middle lane, so they're looking at, I suppose, the Tinker as not really the mid option. Bryle going for that hero mid the last time, or not necessarily mid, but in that position to roll last time, was a little unexpected, a little unorthodox. Doesn't really feel like NoPing are buying into that scenario playing out again, and kind of feels like a safe assumption for them, at least at the moment.
And it does feel like that is the Undying specialty. And Infamous, with their second ban, taking out the Mirana, maybe seeing that there is still a little bit of flexibility in the enemy team's draft. You don't want to give Infamous something out from underneath you. Unfortunately, I don't think we see either team valuing the Brood very much. We saw some teams trying to run the Brood. Unfortunately, I don't really think that hero is going to be nearly as effective. We've already seen teams completely ignore it in many, many series so far on the patch. It just feels like that change in the webs is just a little bit too much, kind of killed the hero. But that's where Infamous, we could see them rely on the Queen of Pain, I want to say, with these very true mid laners, both the Luna, the Invoker, the Kunkka, they all really push towards that. This is going to be a 4 Tinker. We're going to need someone to supply a little bit more damage. Okay. And I do like the Pango. I feel like it's a little bit of a deny pick. If they did want to shift things around just a little bit on NoPing, make it a 4 Tiny, the Pango is still one of the best heroes at dealing with that Zoo. I think that would be another hero that maybe this Lycan wouldn't be feeling comfortable to play into. I feel like that is what this Pango says to me.
Oh.
And Io.
Well,
Okay.
okay then, yeah. A hero that I'm not sure we'd seen really at all since that patch dropped, and honestly, even a little bit before that as well. Popularity was not particularly high. The question at this point is, who exactly plays it? Panda will take the Viper, Matthew will be on the IO. So that changes things up. We were talking about the Gyrocopter Luna sort of matchup. With the IO there to maybe buff that Gyrocopter up, that kind of tips the scales a bit.
Yeah, and now, unfortunately, are still playing into Lycan.
Yeah.
Lycan, even though it was picked up this early on, is going to have a pretty free time. Every single core matchup actually in the game for him right now is looking very good for him. Sure, maybe you can't kill the Tide, but both the Viper and the Io, they're very, very susceptible to those creeps, to those shapeshifts. Even same with the Gyrocopter. If you aren't farming at that breakneck speed that, I'll be honest, we do usually see the Gyro is able to hit that mark, you will fall behind and you will have this timing on Sacred where if he can hit that 12, 13-minute Helm of the Overlord, you will start to see him make plays on heroes like that time. If you can have Helm of the Overlord when Dark Mago gets his Blink Dagger, this is going to be a winning game for Infamous. I think if that mark is hit, this is going to look pretty bad for NoPing. But if NoPing are able to move past that timing, we're seeing again, very differing thoughts where NoPing, they have far superior team fight. They are going to be very strong if they can get set up, play around Dark Mago's initiation, and then Oscar's secondary initiation. Those winning team fights could definitely put the game on its head. Where Infamous, they're a lot scrappier. They're going to be playing a little bit slower. They're going to be having to wait for their item timings, especially with this 4 Tinker. You're going to see him put a little bit more pressure when it comes to defending those towers, farming a lot less. And that's where, if they hit their timing, they hit it hard. If they can get these really messy team fights going, once NoPing really blow everything, they blow the Avatos, they blow the Ravage, they're out of gas aside from that Gyrocopter, and that's where these team fights could really turn on their heads. It's really, honestly, 50-50 matchup for me. This is the 50th matchup I think I've seen so far today.
Yeah, we saw a couple of games in the previous series where it really did seem like Undying sort of had the edge, and it was up to 4 Zoomers to try and sort of break through that. This time, well, no one has that definitive advantage this early on, so that just means there's going to be even more sort of pressure on these teams to execute that game plan correctly, because no one has that massive inherent advantage. No one has the, well, if it gets to this point, then we can just win, etc. You are going to have to just straight up outperform your opponents here, so we'll see how this one goes. Game number 1 of our lower bracket series, as we mentioned earlier on. Winner of this series goes to the lower bracket final. Chance to get some revenge, perhaps, against 4 Zoomers tomorrow afternoon. The loser ends up getting eliminated in 4th place. So,
Michael.
Everything on the line is Michael's getting hit up pretty early here. Yeah, Angel actually went for the homing missile to make that play happen, and with the body blocks coming in, Michael just has nowhere to go. He's got to stand his ground, but he's not going to survive. That is very opportunistic play from NoPing. I don't think they thought that opportunity was going to come their way, but the second they see it, they're in. I mean, Angel, you do have homing missile now at level 1 as a core, but it got you first blood.
Yeah, and you honestly, you were going to get that skill point anyway. It's just way too efficient of a spell level 1. And more importantly, you force Matthew to use 2 of his tangos. This is what they need to be careful about, though. The decay does start coming through, and Matthew, just gets chunked by everything, but that's not his lane opponent. You are not ending up with A going versus the Gyro IO. Not saying they need to make that change. I think that they need a ranged hero to pair with the Lycan. Otherwise, he's going to lose a lot of these trades. But the bigger issue, not only spending both of his tangos on the Tinker, so you only have 1 going into lane, but you really want that heat-seeking missile just because it's that much more efficient. It's 250 damage as opposed to the 80 coming in from the level 1 laser. Just does not feel like you're going to have a fantastic time.
Is this?
And A is sticking up here for a little bit. I can't imagine he stays. Maybe they go for some crazy play on Matthew. Yeah, he's out.
1 decay and he's gone. So it was worth a shot. If you hit up Matthew, if your other heroes are maybe close enough to follow that up, then you could have gotten in for a quick kill, but it's not going to come at the expense of the Luna. Nothing will ever come at the expense of the Luna here. A just TP's down immediately, and I mean, it's the Luna, and it's just the way that they play with Lumiere as well. He is not willing to ever be sacrificed, so ATP's up, and now he's going to be as obnoxious as possible here against Oscar and Panda. If he can get out that decay spam, this is not exactly going to be the most fun in the world for those NoPing heroes.
Unfortunately, Panda Boot is still Viper. He is going to be very obnoxious. I think Undying is slightly more efficient in... A is actually going to get turned on a little bit here, but with Oscar not having that gush, there really isn't too big of a kill threat. We'll really see the big trades happening as soon as that Luna does hit level 3, whether she decides to get that second point in the Lunar Blessing, or something that Lumiere actually prefers on his Luna is getting a lot of points in that Lucent Beam early. He'll typically save a few skill points just in case, but in this lane with how low HP pool a lot of these heroes are going to stand, I can only imagine he's going to be a little bit more aggressive.
Oscar has the gush
Well,
now. They go in onto A. He's going to soul rip himself. Decay is there as well. But he's still taking so much damage, and Lumiere's done all he can. Throws out a Lucent Beam, but once that's gone, he doesn't want to be there. Backs off, and A does get taken down as NoPing are able to find their second kill of the match.
And for a second there, you thought that A might have been able to get out the damage for Pandaboo. Pandaboo was sitting at max HP 240, something crazy like that, but the decays start to go away, and suddenly this Viper is just going to sit there and right-click you. And we talk about this with Pandaboo's Viper a lot. If he can get those early levels, if he can succeed in the lane where he's supposed to dominate, doesn't get forced into that stacking role, it feels impossible to lane against. And that's where A, finding out that his small camp is no longer there for him, you're going to see Lumiere slow down just that little bit more.
Yeah, big play from NoPing this early on. Just don't give the Luna that many opportunities. You take a look at the last account, you've got him at single digits still, about 3 minutes in. That is really probably the best that you could reasonably expect here. So Oscar and Panda playing fairly well. Meanwhile, their teammates on the other sections of the map, not too shabby either. Double-digit last hits for Dark Mago. You're sitting at 13 and 3 there for the Gyrocopter up top. And up in the top lane, I don't really know. Sacred and Michael, I mean, they're trying to make some plays, but you take a look at their health levels right now. If they go in for the trade, it feels like in a lot of circumstances, they're going to take just as much damage as they're dishing out.
And that is something.
Hey, he's getting jumped. He's going to soul rip again. Is it enough, though? That DOT honestly may just do him in by itself. And yes, it will. Panda gets the kill, and this lane is suddenly not fun for Lumiere. He's at least underneath the tower here, and I don't think he has to worry about further aggression, but this is not sort of the free pass he was hoping for, although I say he doesn't have to worry about aggression. You see Panda just sort of poking and prodding, seeing if Lumiere is not going to sort of respect that damage. Maybe they could make something happen, but it doesn't look like it's going to come about. But the fact that Oscar and Panda feel confident enough to make that kind of just speculatory play is kind of indicative of the way this lane's gone so far.
And that's where I wonder if Lumiere is going to swap things up. He has already played it exactly to my expectation. He's got that second point up in Beam, but I do feel like he is going to be forced out very, very soon here. And when we talk about Pandaboo Viper, we always talk about that level 3 timing where second level and poison attacks are so much more efficient. It's so hard for Lumiere to do anything at this point. He's probably going to have to beam for a lot of these creeps. They're just completely orb blocked out of lane.
Beaming for creeps is not a great feeling if you're the Luna. Or at least not a great feeling if you are forced into having to do it. So, I don't know. Does he make an early rotation into the jungle? It feels like that might be just a little bit too early, but it depends on how much Lumiere thinks he can really stand in this lane, how much more he can get out of it. You do see the pull coming in on that camp, so that is going to affect the equilibrium a little bit, so maybe Lumiere is willing to tough it out on that front, see what they can get from that kind of maneuver, but on the other side of the matchup, Oscar really just doesn't care where the creeps end up getting pulled to. 26 and 6 for that Tide, so he's farming well. He's getting some experience up as well. He's, what, about 4 1/3? Just a tiny bit ahead of Lumiere there, so he's really just not going to care too much. He may care about this, though. That's a TP coming in from Alone, as they are going to look to make a rotation. Panda is not going to be able to TP out. They needed that last little hit of damage. They do manage to get it, but, well, I don't know. If you're Alone, and that's a rotation maybe off the back of a rune, that's going to feel pretty good, but that was him TPing down there, so he now has to walk back mid. It's at least money into Infamous's hands, and it is their first kill of the game, but efficiency takes maybe a bit of a downward tick.
And unfortunately, Michael wasn't able to take the entirety of the mid wave, but it's a free rotation at the current moment just because you do have that cart now taking the aggression from that Tiny. So it's not like he missed too many waves there. And that's where Infamous, unfortunately, have really put all their eggs in one basket. If Alone isn't making these rotations, you are going to see them really fall behind, especially if NoPing can get active a little bit sooner than them. Unfortunately, nobody gets the rune there. Everybody gets forced off of it, but that's where Dark Mago, going for the Dark Mago build, immediately going for that Blink Dagger. No phase boots, no wand, no messing around, and we'll have to see, because right now, he's on the breakneck speed. He's farmed that small camp pretty much every single time. We're not seeing any shenanigans in the previous series where we saw these teams face up in group stage. Both their small camps were blocked out, but this time around, both teams are not playing around. They want to get their timings. They want to push hard into the opponent's jungle. And that's where Alone can definitely make more plays than the Tiny. He has the Rolling Thunder. He's not item dependent. And Matthew might be a casualty of war here, but what a ward. I've never seen this one before. It actually scouts out absolutely everything. They do get it, but that's kind of sick.
Huh. And Infamous, I mean, they kind of suspected that it was there. They do deward it, but yeah, it means that they can't go for the kill there. They are looking for a kill elsewhere, though, as Oscar, he is getting very much slowed up underneath the tower. His teammate has already fallen. His Panda just gets run down, and well, that rotation to the bottom lane for Alone looks a heck of a lot better than the previous one. Both end up with kills, but that is just so much more aggressive and confident from them. They take down both of those heroes, and all of a sudden, Lumiere's feeling quite a bit better about this lane. A little bit of pressure on him before, but 2-0-1 now. He's going to get some time to sort of clear through this without any direct pressure on him, and Infamous have sort of lightened the load, so to speak, for that Luna, making life easier, and now you see they're still looking for these rotations. Michael and A are sort of hanging out mid, so they are trying their best to maintain this level of activity, but not really sure where else they could go. They can't really look for this jungle play again, as Angel, he's just going to start taking these stacked camps. So they would love to get in here to try and prevent this, but I'm not sure if they have the resources to do so right now.
Yeah, and it does feel a little bit jaded right now. Dark Mago getting very lucky, able to bottle up this Arcane Rune now for himself, but that's where Alone continues to be the aggressor. He's the one making the poking, prodding plays, doing exactly what he needs to do. We've seen Alone in this position so many times. His team does end up with him on this position very often, whether or not we see him on the Ember Spirit or the Void Spirit. It does feel like he is the one that needs to be that sole playmaker, especially with the way Infamous have drafted this time around. It is going to be a waiting game. Fortunately, Sacred in the top lane having a pretty decent time versus the Gyrocopter, which you pretty much will always get when you have this Lycan. It's very hard to force him out of the lane, but with the HOD completed, you are going to see them put pressure on these tier 1 towers. We're going to see a very by-the-books game.
Getting the tower down there. Angel pokes his head in for a moment, but there's really not a lot he was going to be able to do. So they can't push into the north side jungle for a kill, so to speak. We saw Alone sort of give it a shot, but by the time he moved in, his opponent had already left. But they do rotate instead for the tower, and now they're going to give it a try, but this is kind of what I was just talking about. If Matthew and Angel are alone there, maybe they could make it happen, but with both of them in position, you don't really have that same opportunity, as Dark Mago managed to go for the kill onto Lumiere, brings him down, but up in this north side jungle, Sacred trying to track down Matthew, but the tether play isn't going to be able to get the IO out of there. So no play onto that IO, while Dark Mago was able to get his first kill of the game, and now with that blink, the aggression is really just going to ramp up. He still actually got the Arcane Rune for a little while as well, so he could look to make another play. Michael, got to be very careful. Yeah, Dark Mago I don't think had the vision there, but if he knew that Tinker was there, Michael was almost pretty much guaranteed to go down. But fortunately enough, they don't get the vision. Dark Mago falls back, continuing to farm up here, but this feels like NoPing's timing. If the Tiny can lead the charge, they're already up by 3k, they can expand on that lead further with some pickoffs. But we'll have to see what Dark Mago can put together.
And that's where it's going to gut Infamous's lineup. Every single time Sacred isn't able to get a play going with this shapeshift, it's a timing that you don't necessarily have to rely on entirely, because you are in that offlane position. You do matter just a little bit less, but it just means that he can't play top. If he can't use it defensively, he can't use it aggressively. He's just going to be taking the scraps that Angel really leave him after forcing in the wave to then go farm the jungle. A jungle that's very stacked in mid.
Hey.
Yeah.
I mean, he's looking for experience there, right? So that's not too bad of a play for him. It's a 3-man rotation from NoPing, but they do get the kill, and now Alone's got to be a bit careful here as well. Oscar's holding on to that Ravage, so Alone can't stick around too long. You see him faking out the Rolling Thunder there. That would be his best defense against some of that lockdown, but if he commits the Rolling Thunder, then NoPing could probably just back away, and I don't know that the rest of Infamous would move into position in time to really follow it up. But they're going to go for it. Alone is in. They've gotten in onto that Tide. Can they keep him locked down? Oscar, not dead just yet, trying to hold his ground. Panda, meanwhile, I think he just threw the Viper Strike out onto Alone. So once that Rolling Thunder comes to an end, he does kind of have to back away, but Dark Mago's in. They're looking for A. They get the Avalanche onto him. The tossback comes through as well. They get the kill. They get down the Tombstone as well. And now Alone, he jumped back into the fight. That may not have been the best of ideas for him. He is going to get hexed up, dropped low. Ravage comes through, actually clipping the Luna here as well. So if they realize they've hit Lumiere, they might look for that one as well, but they're just trying to secure that first kill first. They get Alone, and now Sacred tried to go for it, laying his life on the line there to hopefully bring down Matthew, but not only does he fail to get the kill, he ends up sacrificing himself, and Infamous sort of save your friend syndrome coming into play there. They just go in one at a time, and there's not a lot of synergy with the staggered initiation.
And they waterfall in, and unfortunately, Lumiere,
그리고
maybe
뒤에서
playing to his muscle memory, makes the rotation mid, but you don't
그리고
have
뒤에
Eclipse yet.
있어.
You don't have enough points in Lucent Beam, and you're rotating mid for a fight that you inevitably can't take. In addition to that, you saw there, the reason why this Pango hero is just a little bit broken is he lived for so long in 5 heroes. He did hit a 5-man shield crash there, so the damage reduction was real, but you have no follow-up. You had Michael sitting there spamming rockets as fast as he could, but it just felt like it didn't matter. They had a little bit too much in terms of healing. Matthew was keeping everybody topped off, and if you don't have a clean initiation coming from Infamous, you're going to need them. Like I said, go for those scrappy fights.
Oh,
Go for those long
Angel!
engagements. Yeah.
Don't drop your stuff on the ground, my man, especially with a Lycan in the game. That Wolf destroys a couple. It wasn't the Ags pieces, though. That is sort of the beneficial part of that play, so the Ags is still completed, but it's a little bit of your net worth just getting kind of thrown away because of that Wolf. But as neat as that play was for Sacred, your Angel, you have an Aghanim Scepter 13 minutes into the game. You are still a very dangerous man, even if he lost... I think that was one of his bans that he ended up losing there. So,
Yeah.
but still, Ags for a ban. Decent trade. Angel is looking pretty big right now, and this is an Ags with Matthew's IO just continuously buffing him up. You compare that to the Luna on the other side, you've got a discrepancy of nearly 1,500 in terms of that net worth this early on.
And top?
Alone? Okay. He's trying for it, but now here comes the relocate. That's going to pull Angel into the fight. Alone says, no, I'm out of here, but no, he's not. He's still getting chased. That pig pull is going to give him a little bit of a move speed increase, but now Dark May goes in. He gets the Avalanche down into the toss. They pulled A back, and I'm pretty sure the Undying will go down here. He's going to try to get onto Panda before he dies, but not going to be able to pick up that kill. But his sacrifice does keep the core hero safe. However, Oscar is kind of bullying Sacred a little bit in that middle lane. Not a lot of kill potential there, but that means the Lycan in no way can join that fight. He's just completely locked out.
Yeah, and that's where Sacred, we're not seeing the fantastic timing on that Helm of the Overlord. He wasn't able to prioritize his farm over his other cores. I think Alone has been taking a few of those stacks there, and he's being really obnoxious with the pig pull. It's actually very difficult to ever trace him fully down, but if your most aggressive hero on the map is forced to constantly use his ability and not really get anything for it, you're going to simply fall behind. Even though Michael, he's been trying to get out some of these waves, especially taking that dangerous farm. If we're not seeing more from Alone, if we are going to see them start to fall behind, that's where the 5-man of NoPing, that's where the strategies that they've done many, many times before are going to come into play. And, well, number 6.
It's a hard knock life for that position 5 support, just getting bullied up constantly. But Sacred's going to pop that shapeshift. They're looking to push in. Panda actually already dies by the time Sacred's really in there fully. His creeps, though, do get him the kill, but I think they were hoping for a little bit more than that. Getting the kill onto Panda is nice, but they were hoping that Matthew and Dark Mego would kind of stick around and be baited into it, but they are going to remain disciplined, not falling into that trap. All the while, Angel is again taking stacks in the jungle.
Yeah, it feels like they're not able to make a venture over towards that dire triangle ever. Dark Mago still playing fantastic with this Viper. It's why they like this combo so much. When you put down that Nether Toxin, you just do so much damage coming from this Tiny. And Dark Mago never skips a beat. Gonna have his Echo Saber pretty soon here. Then we're going to see some more cores under threat, specifically the Luna, Lumiere.
Oh,
Getting
boy.
chased down right now.
Oscar wants in. Dark Mago's got the cutoff angle. TP from A, though, is going to create a distraction, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. The Ravage comes through. It clips them both. The calldown's in onto both of them as well. Lumiere falls first. A will be going down a moment later, and Michael, you need to get the heck out of here. He is trying to get away, as that TP should get him home, but NoPing, they just keep on pushing their way forward. The second they spot Lumiere, they are directly in onto him, and good on them as well, not taking the bait with that Undying. They could have just said, let's get the easier kill. Instead, they think, we have the resources to go for both, and it pays off for them pretty spectacularly. 2 kills, and now this tower.
And unfortunately for them, we're not seeing too many opportunities now presenting themselves. With this lineup, they don't really have this Roche sneaking potential. They're going for the split push plays. You saw Sacred in the top lane, but the Glyph kills any potential for him to get that split push going. And having this core Pango, if Infamous aren't able to really work past this NoPing timing, there's already a mech out from the IO. You're going to see this Pango, even though he's having the best game on his team, really struggle to supply the damage that he needs. And are you getting it from the Tinker? No, not really. Are you getting it from Lumiere? He's working on a BKB. I like this smoke up. If they can get onto Dark Mago, it'd be fantastic, but is he really ever going to give you this play? You don't have an initiator. You don't have a Blink Dagger. You don't have anyone building forwards. It does feel like we're going to get into a very sketchy situation for them. And A, are you a toss back away from another death here? Well,
Homing missile is actually onto him for now. Lumiere, though, kind of jumping the gun a little bit, it felt, but Sacred does pop the shapeshift. He's in. They're going to try and get onto Angel. They do hit him up with that Rolling Thunder, but here's Matthew in for the heal. No, the tether actually gets popped, but Angel just holds his ground. Panda gets taken down. Sacred will be traded out in exchange, though, and now Matthew actually falling as well, but Angel was able to make his escape from that fight. Meanwhile, Oscar and Dark Mago are kind of hanging out in the back line here. Do they really want to go back in? They may have to, because Angel is still getting hit up alone, trying to dish out the damage, but there's going to be the wand charges. Angel healing up, Oscar coming in, looking for the slow with the gush. So Lumiere not going to be able to push onto the fight. Angel, meanwhile, threw down a homing missile onto that Luna. This is getting a little bit complicated for Infamous. They may have gone too far, and now they're going to pay for it. There's going to be the Avatos coming in into that homing missile stun. Lumiere is dead, and now the rest of Infamous have to try and get away. Alone, though, is not going to make it out. The pig pole move speed bonus is not enough. And now Infamous' supports, they're just kind of left in no man's land. They try to get away. Dark Mako, though, locking down A, hitting him up with the Avatos. He will fall. Michael makes it out, but it feels like they were just going for a little bit too much. If you don't get Angel in the first couple of seconds maybe of that chase, it feels like they went too far, and NoPing were able to rally the troops and really turn that fight into a clear-cut victory.
and that's the Helm of the Overlord timing coming in from Sacred, where you can single out this gyrocopter. That was even with Lumiere somehow able to commit the tail end of his Calypso onto Pandaboo, who was stuck running around in a circle, wasn't able to cast many of his spells. That was a fantastic way to start the fight. You took the IO out as well. Everything was looking Infamous, but as soon as that shapeshift is gone, the call to retreat has to be made. They just stick around way too long. And Lumiere, if he has a TP there, I think he can actually just TP in the face of all of his enemies. I think Dark Mago split off a little bit too far from the fam, but unfortunately isn't able to connect, and Lumiere dies yet again. This Luna is just not having a good game right now.
Sacred's going to TP out, okay. So he's clear. Alone, though, is still pushing this wave. This is going to get kind of risky for him. His TP is down for 50, so time to hide in the trees, maybe? He's just really playing a dangerous game here. But good news for him, NoPing don't really care about him because they're after the tower. They will take that objective, and once they take it, they kind of just leave the Pangolier alone. They're going to invade the jungle as well, looking to push their way all the way mid. And yeah, Lumiere and A, with just the two of them, they can't afford to take that fight. You see them backing off. Lumiere still trying to farm up. He is closing in on the BKB. That could be a potential game changer for Infamous, make them a little bit more sturdy if they can pop the BKB and get that Eclipse onto a good target. But he's got to finish that off first, and while he's trying to farm it, you see NoPing, they're still on the hunt. They continue to chase forward, looking for really anyone that they can find.
And that's where these really good teams always are very good at identifying what their enemy team needs to play around and what you need to play around. Right now, Infamous, they're trying to play around the fact that NoPing, aside from Dark Mago, are relatively low lockdown. They need the time to start the fight. They need to kite Dark Mago around the map, and whenever he's showing, they know that they're safe in these side lanes. The problem is that presently Infamous cannot take a full 5-on-5 engagement. They need to find a way to split up NoPing. If they're unable to split the 5-man, there's no reason for NoPing not to continuously run at you. Yeah. Well,
I mean, it looked like a very sneaky play at the start. Swashbuckles to the high ground, looks for the TP, but he's directly... Actually, that's his own ward even, so NoPing just sort of got the vision. Dark Mago blinked in for the stun, and that's the kill, and that's going to be Roshan as well. At this point, there's really nothing Infamous can do to try and contest it, unless Sacred... Nope, Sacred's in trouble. Yeah, he's going to get jumped in on. Tossback comes through. No shapeshift deployed there, as he wouldn't have really even had the time to channel it out, so he'll hold on to that ult, but that Sacred taken down. Dark Mago gets another kill, and they're right back into the pit.
And like you said, nothing they can do. Lumiere, I believe, finally finished up his BKB, but it really does feel like they're playing at a massive deficit right now. There isn't really any rebuttal for them. You can see Dark Mago smoking up with Pandaboo, and any kill. Double?
Oh.
Yeah.
Come on.
They ping the word out immediately, too. They know their mistake, but they're just so good. Dark Mago, especially when he gets going on this Tiny. It's why we saw Tiny Viper banned. I'm surprised they didn't take a page out of Fury of Jovim's handbook, because it did feel like Fury of Jovem were able to really figure out what they wanted to do, and even
There
alone.
he is again. Avalanche into the toss back. Alone. Going to take a little bit of damage, but Panda alone is not going to be enough to really sort of keep that fight going. But Dark Mago, whatever he does, there don't appear to be any significant consequences. You saw him jump in there. He was able to get that double kill. He's 13-0, for God's sake. Just absolute monstrosity. And yeah, it comes back to that draft. Infamous kind of let that Tiny through, and they may be regretting it now.
Though.
They've got to go for it here. Yep, they're looking for the fight alone. Going in for the Rolling Thunder, but Angel, with the BKB popped, he's going to survive, but Matthew is not really in a great spot. He gets hit by that Rolling Thunder, prevents him from tethering all the way over to his buddy, and Infamous are able to find that pickoff, but they're going to need more, and now actually they may need to just get away. A is getting jumped in on. He's going to try and buy some time for himself with the Soul Rip and the Decay, but it's not enough to keep him alive. A will fall, but now Oscar is sort of stuck here. He is going to throw down the ult, but Lumiere doesn't care. BKB is popped, Eclipse comes through, and Oscar gets taken down. Matthew's going to try to buy back, but he immediately dies again. Maybe this is Infamous' moment. Can they make it happen? Dark Mago is into the fight, though. There's the Avalanche into the toss. The damage is starting to come through. Lumiere will fall. Sacred very low as well. Angel is on a sliver of HP. He will finally fall to those missiles. The problem is, he had Aegis that entire time, so he's coming right back up, and Infamous, that was probably the best fight we've seen from them so far, and
Michael.
it's still going to go poorly. Yeah, Michael makes some sort of miraculous escape. Not even a little bit. Dark Mago locks him down. 14-0 now for the Tiny, but well, like I said, that was the best fight we've seen from Infamous. It's just next time they need to fight without the Aegis, which wasn't really an option for them here, but they felt forced into it, and at least they get something, but they just keep falling further behind now. That's a BKB up on Dark Mago as well, so you're just not going to be able to lock this Tiny down.
And it was very well kited. They were able to force their opponents to play around their vision, as well as the Luna finishing up that BKB. Without that, that play cannot be made. Unfortunately, we are barreling towards this mid game where Alone, unless he has that shield crash buff, cannot stand next to the gyrocopter. He takes so much damage inherently from those flat cannons, from just the side gunner, and that is a terrible position to be in when you are on this Pango. Even Oscar, I think he was forced into that Ravage. That's why we also saw him get cleaned up by that Eclipse. You don't want Oscar to tank absolutely everything, but that's where this BKB timing on Dark Mago feels so crushing. All of his items are always so fast on this Tiny. You look at him, 165 last hits, 14 kills. He just hasn't skipped a beat, and that's why he's so far. And once he has this Daedalus, I think we are going to see buildings absolutely topple. I think we are going to see NoPing structure themselves a little bit more there. You never want a fight to start where you lose both supports at the beginning. It was a fantastic roll coming out from Alone that was able to disjoint Matthew from that gyrocopter, but going forward, I think NoPing are going to be a lot more considerate with their engagements, especially with things probably going to reform around the pit. And look, they just immediately take back this high ground vision. Everyone's so scared on Infamous to show anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And Dark Mago as well picked up the grenade as his neutral item. So you've got such a big combo. You blink, you hit him with the Avatos, you hit him with the Echo Saber, you hit him with the grenade. Who lives through that right now? Very few, if anyone, on the side of Infamous. So he is going to get hard. And yeah, ET, as you said, maybe a little on the strong side with that grenade. I mean, I'm no expert on game balancing, but it's just so impressive how much damage someone like the Tiny can do with this item.
Yeah, Fey Grenade is definitely, I don't even want to say broken because it's new, but it definitely feels like things will just die. Unfortunately, lost the courier there too with the tree toss, but his damage potential is more or less infinite at this point. I think any hero with less than 2000 HP is just going to be food for thought. Even the Undying. Actually, Ape popped his Flesh Golem there. I think he thought he was getting gone in on, but unfortunately, that's a pretty long cooldown that you don't have for bottom now, so here comes the push.
Yep, they're going in. Tier 3 under attack. Alone's thinking about it. Does he actually go for the Rolling Thunder? Michael is at least trying to throw down the March, so that can cut through the creep waves, do a little bit of damage. The Glyph is now coming in as well, but Angel really doesn't care. This is even with the Aegis down on him. He just continues to push his way in. He knows that Matthew is here to heal him up, but this really does turn into a tougher situation, and if they actually do try to jump, he's got the BKB, so really, there are so few openings that Infamous can take advantage of. They're obviously still there, but execution has to be pretty much perfect, and Right now, we're not seeing them pull that trigger, but Sager's going to pop the shapeshift. They want in. They've already lost the racks, though, and Oscar, he's got the Ravage, so if they're not careful, they could get jumped in on. The Ravage does come through, but Lumiere had already popped the BKB, so he is directly into the middle of that fight. Oscar and Panda both get taken down. Angel's trying to fight his way through this as Matthew comes in to heal him up, but Lumiere now loses his magic immunity. Can they actually finish him off? Angel's healed all the way back up. He's desperately trying to fight his way through this alongside Dark Mago, but they just don't have enough. Dark Mago falls, Angel dead as well. It's a full 5-man wipe. Infamous didn't lose anything other than the racks, but hero-wise, everyone pulls out.
Let's go, Infamous. Let's go. That was actually incredible with how they executed that team fight. I think if Alone doesn't find that separation, again, NoPing, they start the fight on both supports being a little bit too far up, too close to the high ground, which they have to be close to because you have a gyrocopter. He doesn't have the highest attack range, but being that close, it just feels like they had the right tool for the right job there. Same with having both heroes on Infamous being the one with BKB and the one in Rolling Thunder being the only targets that Oscar felt comfortable enough to get a Ravage on. I just think there was some very key misplays there from NoPing. And then as soon as both your BKBs are committed, that was double BKB on both of the extremely farmed cores on NoPing getting cleaned up after the fact. They just completely misplayed that push. Even though they got the racks, that is a huge shift of momentum. That's a almost 7k gold swing.
And we did say the window of opportunity was there, but the execution from Infamous had to be on point, and that's about as on point as it possibly gets, ET. They clean sweep it, and yeah, as you said, you basically cut that deficit in half, and you're still down by 8k, but it kind of feels like a bit of a new game. Infamous now know, can we consistently take a team fight like that? Who knows? That remains to be seen, but they have the capability to do it. They know if they get the right execution, fights like that are possible. So you still have to be cautious, but maybe we won't see them be quite as timid and defensive as they had been previously, especially with Lumiere really getting up there damage-wise. Daedalus is up. We see the Aghanim Scepter being worked on, so Luna's going to start hitting hard, and NoPing will have to respect that.
And that's where, with this first Roche, it does feel like a race. Now, all that matters is how many items can you get before this next Roshan is alive. And Daedalus is a huge take-up. I don't think Lumiere is going to be able to finish this Aghanim Scepter. Probably going to look for just buyback plus the Daedalus, but with this Enchanted Quiver as well, it is going to feel difficult now for really the supports to stand up on NoPing. I think they've itemized pretty well on both Matthew and Pandabu. They both got those very early Ghost Scepters, but really MVP coming in from Alone here. He's been the one holding down the fort. And I think on the NoPing side, Oscar needs to find better Ravages. He needs to find those openings because for the second time in a row, you pop BKB on Luna, you pop Eclipse, and the tide is taken out of the game. This could be big though.
They're on to Sacred. Homing missiles coming out onto him. Oscar's going to jump in. Ravage will be deployed. Lumiere got off the BKB preemptively, though, so he is still fighting his way through this, and Oscar will be traded out. 1-for-1 on those off-laners. Oscar, though, buying back into the fight. His teammates, though, actually didn't really need him. This time, Angel and Dark Mago, they are in perfectly. They just overwhelm their opponents with that damage. And both A and Lumiere go down. Alone, though, is tracking a kill. He's baited in. Oh, Dark Mago makes the jump. Blink into the Avatos combo. Matthew, even with the relocate, actually pulled Panda back to the base, so there is no threat of this Viper going down, and now both of them are going to be pulled back in to continue pushing for this tier 3 tower top. So Infamous looked so good in the last fight. That time, though, it's the play from Oscar. As you mentioned, he needs a better Ravage. That was better. He hits everyone other than the Luna, and sure, the Luna's dishing out damage, but not onto the right heroes. They took Oscar down, he buyed back immediately, and Dark Mago and Angel had their opening to attack.
And unfortunately, Infamous just couldn't get out fast enough, and this is what you end up playing versus. You are just going to be Megas tier. There's nothing you can do. You don't have buyback on your Luna. NoPing really wanted to. They could reset. I think they're going to realize the Luna doesn't have buyback in a few seconds here, but this is what happens when you are playing at that 16, 17k net worth deficit for such a long time. All it took was getting Sacred with a homing missile. You don't have BKB yet on the Lycan. That was the big difference maker. You didn't have those creeps running around causing chaos, tanking those flat cannons. And because you ravaged so early, you had the pocket of the BKB to meet it so early on the Luna. We did not see that kited out picture perfect fight from Infamous. And because they weren't over the hump, they weren't out of the pit just yet, Megas are just par for the course. You have a four-man wipe that close to your base. It makes sense for the position they're in now, but it is a little bit sad with that glint of hope that we got for maybe 2 minutes there. It was a little ray of sunshine there for Infamous, but now it is going to feel like quite the insurmountable lead that NoPing can have. They got to contest this Roche, but this is still going to be very difficult, especially they've got the word scouting absolutely everything. Here we go.
They don't have a choice. Popping everything they've got. Dark Mega, though, heads them off immediately. A is already down to about a third of his HP, but Sacred's in. Alone is rolling around in the Rolling Thunder. He needs to be able to hit up onto somebody, though. He's only got maybe one hit onto Matthew. He'll now try to get into the pit, trying to stop Angel from picking up anything as Lumiere, and he actually took the Aegis. Maybe they can make this happen. The Eclipse is coming through now as well. BKBs are activated, but Alone is going to be taken down, and Lumiere, he just straight up doesn't win that fight. He'll be taken down. The Aegis is going to get him back up, but at this point, where's the backup? Michael's trying to come in, but the Ravages preemptively pop. The second Lumiere respawns, he's immediately stunned up and taken down,
GG.
and that's it. And they felt like they had to do something, and they gave it a good go there, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, and I think Infamous, you gotta respect what NoPing has been doing for months at this point. I think they really let a few too many NoPing heroes go by the wayside here, as well as Angel Gyrocopter, his arguably best hero of the previous patch. I think Infamous, they were trying something new. They definitely have a lot of those new heroes. They definitely play to their strengths. I think Alone had a fantastic early game going for him, but you never saw that net worth or those little victories on their side getting pushed into that Luna. The Luna who is playing already at a deficit versus the Gyrocopter IO. You don't have a Wisp tethering you. You're going to need a little bit more, and we didn't see that coming out from anyone. Specifically, I think both A and Michael, even though they are a dynamic duo, they do like to play sort of these no stunners sometimes. Tinker Undying is not the dynamic duo. Tinker Undying Lycan is an even less dynamic duo. It really all felt like it was on Alone to have this crazy game of Pango where you're running from top to bottom to mid, doing a gunner repeat almost of their crazy game in their crazy series, but wasn't able to replicate that same level of play. Didn't have a coddle steroiding him forward. And that's where Dark Mago, I think the complete foil to that, was completely successful in every single rotation, had a 10-minute blink dagger, and won every single lane for his teammates. I think NoPing, even though they had that one big stumble, never felt like they were ever going to lose this game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's sort of developing into a bit of a trend. That's now the third game in a row where we sort of mentioned one of the teams might want to play a little bit faster because the other side has a later, maybe not late game timing, but a later timing that they were going to be able to hit to try and seize control, and Infamous just really couldn't do that. They needed simultaneously to get onto Angel, but I think more important than that, they had to stop Dark Mago. The man goes 15-1-9 on that Tiny, and this is why teams ban out the hero. You mentioned Furia Jovum. They didn't win that series, but they never let Dark Mago get onto that sort of comfort pick. So maybe you see Infamous take a page from one of their sort of regional rivals' books, ban out something like the Tiny and or Viper in game 2, because if you let through that duo a second time, NoPing are going to pick it again, and they're probably going to do exactly what they just did to you here in game 1.
Yeah, and that's where, even though I like the first pick Pango, I like that it then sets up for this Lycan hero. I don't think Alone can be sort of pushed back as much as I like this Pango. Unless you are pairing it with that Coddle, it just feels like he's not supplying enough damage for you, and you need to get that from somewhere else, somewhere that Infamous really couldn't itemize to fix. Because again, you need that Helm of the Overlord. You need an item on top of that. If Sacred was maybe a little bit bigger, I could see this game turning on its head, but there just wasn't enough time for their lineup.
Yeah, so adjustments need to be made. We're going to be pushing into game 2 in just a little bit here. Infamous in need of a turnaround, down 0-1 in an elimination series. So we'll see what it is they can come up with. Again, might want to consider banning out that Tiny, but we'll find out. Before we go into that break, though, we do have another word from one of our sponsors. It is Mate Mate. Just had a giveaway from them in between series there, but another word from Mate Mate. You can purchase your Mate Mate at bts.gg/Mate Mate using the code BTSDota. If you use that code, you get 15% off of your order, you get free international shipping, and you are entered into Mate Mate's grand prize giveaway. They're giving out gaming chairs. They're giving out an entire PC setup from Aftershock Gaming, and they are giving away some Razer keyboard and mouse bundles as well. So quite a bit sort of up for grabs. All you got to do is buy some Mate Mate, 15% off, free international shipping. Sounds like a pretty good deal, to be honest. I'm not sure we're allowed to even participate, though, because we are the casters. But hey, you guys can check that out. Again, that code is BTS Dota. Win yourself some cool stuff, courtesy of Mate Mate. So, with that being said, we are moving into Game 2. Question now, ET, is whether it'll be the last game of the day. NoPing hoping for the 2-0 sweep. Infamous going to try to claw their way back into it. So, we will be back in just a couple of minutes, and we'll bring Game 2 your way just as soon as it gets started.